Good day everybody, Daniel here, and welcome to another video or another episode of Learning the Oracle Database. So if you don't know, I'm just learning the Oracle Database for my school's curriculum, or as part of my school's curriculum, and I've just decided to make videos explaining the things that I've learned, and maybe if you are also doing something similar, you can also learn something. So in this video, I'll just be going through finishing off the chapter called user roles and management, and that's chapter 7 in the textbook or the book written by Juan Steele called 12C SQL. So what are the things that I'm going to be doing differently in this video is that I'm going to actually be using the SQL developer software. So I know in the first video I did say that there is no graphical user interface for Linux systems, but I was wrong, terribly wrong. And even when I did find out, I didn't want to use it. I just wanted to use the terminal as a database or as a way of interacting with the database. But I realized that my denial will ultimately hurt me because it's just much easier to just use the software, the graphical user software. So I installed it and I included my path, etc. So now all I have to do is just start my database container, Docker container that holds the database, because I don't actually have the database running on my system. And then I'm just gonna run the software or the graphical user interface and then connect, etc. However, I've already done some of those things. I've already connected users and it works. So I'll just demonstrate. I'll show you guys everything in a second. I'm first gonna start my container. So I'm gonna say sudo docker container IE4. That's my container ID. Start. Or sudo docker sudo docker start IE4. There we go. Now let me start my SQL developer, and it should start in a second. So I was studying today and studying off the rest of the chapter, and I made little notes over here. So if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes, and I'm just gonna try and explain them as thoroughly as I can. I haven't done examples, but I've done a little bit of practice for me to be actually competent and understand everything that the author has stated. The only thing I haven't done is the actual exercises. So okay, so on my left here, as you can see, I have 3 connections that I've created. I have Justly2 sysdba, which is the account that connects to the sysdba. I have Pam Sales, which is a user called Pam, and she's a sales agent. And then we have Romeo DBA admin, which is the database administrator. I'm sure you'll know some of these users from previous videos. So I'm gonna start off by logging in as the Romeo DBA admin. So the sysdba, we really don't need to log in with the sysdba. Like I said, if you have a system account, you usually don't use that. As soon as you create a database administrator account, you can just start using a database administrator. You don't need the system admin account for security purposes. So I'm gonna double click on that. It's gonna prompt me. I'm gonna type in the password and it's gonna log me in. So once I'm logged in, there are data dictionaries that I can communicate with, not communicate, I can query these data dictionaries. So data dictionaries are these tables that are created by Oracle, and they just help you manage or see system level stuff, right? And database administrators can see a lot more than what a regular user can see because of the authorizations. So since I've connected as a database administrator, I can query tables such as select all from user role privs, and I just held control and I pressed enter to run the query. So this table, what is this? User role. Oh, okay, no, I didn't want to show you this table. I wanted to show you dba role privs, and this table shows all the roles assigned to whatever user. So that we have grantee, granted role, etc. This table I actually used before in the previous video. This is the exact table that I used, and you can see the grantee, granted role, etc. What I like with this table, or when I want to, because you can see there's a lot of clusters like sys, and there's other users here that we don't really use. So, but if you're looking at this table like this, you can actually just start filtering things out that you don't need, or users that you don't need, by just carefully looking. Okay, admin options, I realize that, okay, the users that I've created, such as student 2, Romeo, Daniel, Pam, etc., they don't have, or they have admin option as no. So I can just say where admin option equals no, and then I run that command, and now I have these users, which is much less. Oh yeah, can speak properly. There are not as many users in the return result as I had in the previous one, but I can take it a step further by saying, okay, if I can just check here, we have Pam, and everything is no. The default role and the common is also no, but then as you can see, for all these other users that we don't typically use, the common is set to yes. So I could just say for common is equals to no also, and we should get I think I made a mistake. Did I don't know what I did. Let's just run that again. See, common. Okay. Oh, and common is equals to no. Let's run that command. And here are the users that we typically use. We also have PDA, DBA, and I think it's administrator, of which I don't know what those users do, or I don't understand what happens, or what's going on with those users. But yeah, I don't understand, but that's not the point of the video. So anyway, we have our users here, as you can see. So we have for example Pam here, which is we've granted them the role supervisor. We have Paul, which is a sales agent. We have Pam, who's also a sales agent. So one thing that you can do in Oracle is that you can grant multiple roles to a user. So I'm first gonna wanna revoke because I want to restart, because I've already done a lot of things here on this database, but I want to redo them for the sake of the video, right? And for sake of revision, I'm gonna first revoke. So in Oracle, you can remove a role assigned to a user, and we can actually delete that role. So I'm gonna revoke it from Pam, right, which is a user, and she has sales agent and then not administrator but supervisor roles. I'm going to remove the role called supervisor, and then we're going to delete it, and then we're going to recreate it, and then we're going to reinstate it to, or grant it to, Pam. So to revoke, we're going to say revoke, then we give the granted role name, which is supervisor, from the name of the user, Pam. Enter, and then unknown command supervisor. Okay, let's just run this again. Great thing about this is that I don't have to type in the command over and over again. I can just go to the actual command, hold control and press enter, and it'll run. Okay, what is it? Supervisor, revoke. Okay, it's supposed to be revoke. So let's run that. Revoke succeeded. So Pam doesn't have the role supervisor anymore, and we can do that by running this first command. And as you can see, supervisor is not even in the table because only Pam had or was assigned the supervisor role. So we revoked it, but we still have the supervisor role inside the system. I don't really know, actually I'm lying, I have it written here. I wanted to say I don't really know how you can check all the roles in the database. So I'll just say select all from DBA roles and run that. Let's see what it gives us. So okay, we have so many roles here. Okay, here it is. So yeah, we can get all the roles in the database by calling that command, and we have supervisor over here. It doesn't give us a lot of detail about which user is assigned to which one, but you can check that with this command over here. So what may be confusing is that it has password required is yes, and there's a password, etc. I created that in the previous video. Let me just delete this role and then let's restart. So to delete a role or to drop it, you type in drop, and is it the role name? Drop the role name, which is supervisor, and invalid drop option. Okay, so we need to type in the name or the role, the actual role keyword, role, drop role supervisor, and then role supervisor has been dropped. So now if I run this command again, we shouldn't find supervisor anymore, and as you can see, it doesn't exist anymore. So okay, we're done with those commands, right? So now let's move on to other commands. So let's first start off by creating the actual role. Let's create a role, and if you remember, create role supervisor, and then create it like that. We've created the role supervisor. Now we can now set a password for this role called supervisor, so that if, for example, if a user or random user, for example Pam, we're about to assign this role supervisor to Pam, we're going to give Pam, since Pam is both a sales agent or currently is a sales agent, but they're also going to be receiving the role, sorry about that, supervisor. We're going to set Pam's default role to sales agent, right? And then but then Pam is also a supervisor, right? She gets extra privileges. Since Pam is also a supervisor, or is going to be assigned the role supervisor, she's not yet a supervisor. When she logs in, she's going to be logged in as a sales agent, and then inside, as soon as she's logged in, she can then alter her role and set her new role to the supervisor, but she has to do it with a password, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make it that when they do set their new role, they use a password. This is good for security purposes. To give an example, or the book gives an example, states that, for example, there could be a disgruntled user, disgruntled employee in office spaces, and they know the office of the database administrator. And once the database administrator stands up from their table, walks away, the disgruntled employee can actually go down and sit down by the database of the database administrator, sorry, not the database, but the table of the database administrator, and actually do some crazy work there. So it's really good to set a password that the database administrator would know, in a case where the user, geez, I can't speak, why? Anyway, in a case where the person who's sitting by the desk is the database administrator, in this case it will be the supervisor. So best set a password for the supervisor so that a disgruntled employee doesn't just go to a table of a supervisor, sits down and starts messing about with the computer of the supervisor, right? So yeah, that's the reasoning behind it. So we created the role supervisor. Let's create a password for that, and I have it in my notes. I don't remember the syntax really well, still learning. Okay, what did I do? So where's okay okay, so to set a password to the supervisor, we can use alter role. So wait, actually I want to test something because I feel like I learned this but I forgot it. Create role supervisor identified by password. I think this works. It's just there's there's already a role called supervisor and it's not allowing me to do this operation. So what I was trying to do in this operation was create a role called supervisor and attach a password to it. But we can't do that because we already have a role called supervisor. So let me just delete the supervisor role. Supervisor role dropped, and now let's create it again with this command. Supervisor role has now been created. Had I created it first and then now wanted to change the password, I could have easily done that or done so by using this command, alter role supervisor identified by password. In fact, it's good that I'm doing this now because I realized that I made a typo here. Password is not a keyword. Password is actually the name of the password or the actual password itself, in case it would be something like stuff like this, because this is a password, right? It looks like a password. So I'm just trying to demonstrate that password that I'm typing here is actually the password. It's not a keyword. So let me run that. And role supervisor has been altered. Now it identifies by this password that I've created here. Now let me just try and call DBA role prevs real quick, and we can see that where is she? Spam still only has the granted role sales agent. So now let's grant Pam the role supervisor. So for that, if you remember the previous video, grant supervisor to Pam, and grant has been succeeded. So now let's try and log in. No, wait, before we log in, let's give Pam a default role in the database. We don't want to give them the supervisor role. Well, they have the supervisor role. We don't want to give them the default role supervisor. We want them to have a default role sales agent. And to do that, we're gonna change. We're gonna say alter role. No, what am I gonna do? Okay, we're gonna say alter user, the name of the user, and then we're gonna say default. Default. We're gonna give them default role. You see what I mean? Alter user, Pam, default role, and the role is sales agent. User Pam has been altered, so now we have sales agent as Pam's default role, and I think we can check that here, unless I'm mistaken. Default role, where's Pam? Here. Wait, what? Oh no, this is the supervisor role, and Pam sales agent default role is yes. So I'm guessing by looking at this table that all the users have default roles already, because they only have one role. It's only Pam whom, because she has two roles, and we've actually set one default role to Pam, that the other default role is now not a default role. and then there's an exception here, which is Daniel, which is an administrator. I don't know why that is not a default role, but yeah, I don't remember when I created Daniel. Anyway, that's not the point of the video. Let me just clear up these. So now, since we created Pam, let's try and log in with Pam. Actually, Pam is already is an existing user. Pam has already been granted the create session privilege, so Pam can log in. Double click on her. Pam has a password. I think that's her password, yeah. And Pam will be logged in now. Oh, she is logged in. So if I can check Pam's roles. And remember, data dictionaries. You remember at the beginning of the video I mentioned 2 types of data dictionaries. The type that can be accessed by the database administrator and, you know, higher ranks. And we also have other data dictionaries that the rest of the users can access, but they can access the higher ranks. So I'm gonna give you an example. If I use DBA roles, for example, if I use this command that I was using in the database administrator account in Pam's account, and I run it, I'll get nothing, right? I'll get an error. Table of view does not exist because I don't have the privileges. So I'm just gonna get rid of that since I can't use it. However, if I use the lower ranking data dictionaries, for example, select all from user role privs. I think this is to check the roles assigned to the user. Yes, and as you can see, Pam has been assigned supervisor and they've also been assigned sales agent. The default role is set yes for the sales agent. And that's basically that. And if I wanted to change my role as a sales agent and I wanted to change it to supervisor, I would do something like set role supervisor. If I did this without a password, remember we set a password for this role. If I try and if I try to run this, I'll get an error. So what I need to do is insert the password, and how I do that is identified by, remember password is the actual password. Role supervisor succeeded, so we needed to type in our password in order for us to become a supervisor. And from this point on, we can actually do a whole set of operations, etc. I actually want to get into the nitty-gritty of other things. There are a lot of other operations that I want to discuss, but they're not really important like that. I mean, we've already went through setting multiple roles to a user, changing roles when you've logged in, default roles. You can actually set a default role. When setting default roles, you can actually set all roles to a particular user. For instance, we alter user Pam default roles. I could just say, instead of sales agent, I could just say all. And now the default roles are all. So whenever Pam now logs in, she wouldn't need to change her role from sales agent to supervisor. She's already a supervisor and a sales agent. So she can do whatever the supervisor role allows her to do, and she can also do whatever the sales agent role allows her to do. So, and when she's logged in, she doesn't have to now insert the password to become a supervisor or to have her roles be set to supervisor. She already is a supervisor, and yeah, she doesn't need to type in a password. And yeah, I think we've done the majority of things. We can also remove, but what I mean by is drop users, as in like delete them forever. So, okay, no, obviously not as Pam, but as the database administrator. If I run this command again, just to see, made a mistake. Let me run that. So we have John here, right? Let's try and delete John from our database. We can just say drop user John. John has been dropped. Let's try and run this command again. And as you can see, John does not exist anymore. So John has been completely eradicated from the database. So with that being said, guys, there really isn't anything more for me to go through. I've touched on almost everything in this video and the past video. So I think I'll just keep making videos like this where I'll just go through different operations, and I'll try and do a better job of explaining concepts, and I'll try and do a better job of preparing for my videos because I'm very unprepared. Yeah, and in next videos I'll just try and go through the entire chapter in one sitting, and I'll try not to use paper and these instructions here. I'll try and actually practice first and memorize them before I actually make a video, and just so that it looks more professional for you guys. So thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Peace.